All right, hi everybody. Welcome. Grab a chair. It's the World According to Kyle podcast, episode 1. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Why am I here? Why am I talking to you right now? I decided to start a podcast where I'm going to take the thoughts in my head and go over them on time by time basis. I'm going to go a little slow to start. I'm going to go about one podcast per month to start my foyer, my journey into the podcasting life. I'm going to start it off nice and slow. I'm going to make sure I kind of get everything worked out stylistically and structure wise how I want to be recording and presenting myself. So that was my goal to start 2021, was to come up with one podcast each month. I find like too many people will start off with a very heavy dedication, like one per week, or one per every 2 weeks, or two per week or something, without kind of finding the flow, and then they get attached on to being a some kind of personality. I don't want to do that. I kind of want to find my rhythm slowly but surely. So that's going to be my year one. My year one is, my dedication is one podcast per month, which it doesn't seem like a lot. It isn't a lot for me, to tell you the truth. I have a lot of ideas rolling through my head right now, and honestly, for me to get one out every week, I really think I could, but like I said, to try and find my style is more important than to just come out and just start going ham right away without any real sense of direction. So that's what it is. This is what it's called. It's TWA2K, the World According to Kyle podcast. So this is episode 1, the pilot episode, if you will. You know, one of the reasons why I really wanted to get into podcasting was that I had too many ideas going around in my head, and there was like a pointlessness of projecting these ideas onto people that maybe not necessarily wanted them, like in the Twitter and Facebook sphere, just posting your thoughts into the ether. I feel like maybe there's a more specific segment of people that would benefit from what I'm trying to present and what I'm trying to say, instead of just literally screaming into the void, if you will, of social media. I like to look at things differently than most people, and forcing things onto people is maybe not the best way in hindsight to have gone about my internet journey, but we're all learning as we travel through the interweb. This will just be a starting point where I feel like I can get the ideas off to people without too much resistance, let's say, or pushback or clapback. So yeah, that's what my podcast is kind of going to be. I don't really have too many ways, structures that I want to follow. I want it to kind of be very open, and initially I was going to call this, before I came up with the name, The World According to Kyle, was Many Moods of Kyle, because I feel like it's not just going to be like one of those things where I'm trying to really present a personality, or I'm trying to be a character, or always like stay in some sort of vibe, and always maintaining that. I don't really want it to be that way. I want it to be more of like if things are going really crazy, I want to be crazy. If things are mellow, I want it to be mellow. Like, I react according to what's going on around me, and sometimes it's important. It's more important to have a strong and powerful voice, and other times it's you have to kind of lay back. It's all dependent on what's going on around you. Being someone who's trying to present my commentary on these things, so that's what it was. That's what it's gonna be. It's never gonna be really the same thing. I'm not gonna fall into having to do something all the time, like having to do some sort of gimmick, but other times we will keep gimmicks going. So it's really going to be according to how it goes, what the flow is. Lots of trying new things. And yeah, it's never going to be in one place at a time. It's going to be my thoughts on what's going on, the world around me, the world according to Kyle. Now, for clarification sake, I'm going to call this a comedy podcast. So when I say comedy, I don't have a video, so you could tell that it's finger quotes comedy podcast. So that way, if anything happens where maybe I say something that maybe I regret saying, it's all under the guise of comedy, and then I can't really get in trouble. So there's me absolving myself of any wrongdoing in the future. So there we go. That kind of gives me carte blanche to do whatever I want. But no, I don't think so. I think there's taking things too far out of context. But like, if sometimes I will trash something or somebody that I feel like I don't really understand why they're getting the sort of praise or clout that they're getting, and I will trash them, but it's just done in a comedic way. Like, truly, I don't really care if somebody makes money doing something that I don't necessarily approve of. Like, why, you gotta eat first and foremost. But my questioning and why I dislike something is usually more on the lines like people's like common sensibilities, or why they prefer something over another thing, or wanting something that is less good than another thing. Those sort of things. That's kind of why I want to have a quote comedy podcast, so we can have a little fun. Like, I'm not just saying like I'm gonna be the news over here, though it's never necessarily my goal to be wrong, but we can all be duped. We can all be have the wool pulled over our eyes sometimes when we're ignoring some of the worst aspects of an idea in order to see it through to its full potential. So, that's my start. That's kind of where we're going. I wanted to do this podcast initially in the year 2020, but 2020 2020 happened, and I didn't want to start this up because I didn't want it to be I didn't want to start off on the wrong foot necessarily. I didn't want to just start screaming or be very rage filled because of what was going on. I felt like what was going on at the time and the uncertainty of it all, it wouldn't have been a good moment in time to start up my podcast and give like an authentic, more neutral version of myself than I could have, because it would have been mostly, oh, woe is me, how am I going to handle this? Fuck every politician that did anything, or it would have been just it wouldn't have been me. You wouldn't have seen like the right me that I think that you should be seeing for just having to start off my podcast. Now, not to say that I wouldn't have done it well, but I just think that I just think in the long run it's better to get off on the right foot. And if something happens in the future and I need to be more harsh and critical on others' handling of situations, then I feel like at least I have that neutral spot to lay back on, and that I have that as some sort of guideline of how things are going to go when things are kind of neutral. Because to be honest, they are kind of like, it's not too high, it's not too low right now, as far as 2020 and the COVID scenario is playing out. Like, we have hope that there's going to be some sort of conclusion to this period of time, and that we are going to go back to the way things were, but it's just long enough away where it seems like it's kind of a grind, and it has been a grind, and that's exactly why I didn't want to create a podcast while I was in that kind of rut, right? Like, and it was because I was one of the people who was following this from a very early point, that I seen how this could potentially play out, and that when ignorance truly is bliss in this scenario, where but I was not ignorant of the potential of what could happen. And so, like, say I learned about this in October, or November, December of 2019. Then 2020 hits, it's 2021, and this might not be over with completely until like 2022. So that's like 3 years where most dipshits who couldn't be concerned, who couldn't be bothered by COVID, other than the fact that it's closing down their favorite pissing hole, that they probably only legitimately are going to have like less than a year dealing with the super severe effects of COVID, mainly in part because I don't think that we were really fast enough to act in a harsh enough manner that would have put us in a better position right now, like some of the other countries like Australia. But that being said, the politicians were probably afraid of the things that would happen, and rightfully so. It's, in my mind, it's just a good thing that this really isn't a deadlier disease. I think maybe that's our one saving grace, is that it isn't deadlier. Because, if we're talking a few percentage points, like 5%, 10% of the population, like, wasn't SARS or MERS, didn't that, despite not being very transmissible, didn't that have like a 50% fatality rate or something? Like, extend that out a little, extend the fatality rate out a little, and let's just say the reactions that we had were very inadequate to what would have prevented a mass catastrophe. So that's something that I think that is not just about one particular politician or one particular group of people, or any single one company or organization. I think it's more of like a a human thing and a human nature fault, a fault in our evolution, if you will, that our preservation and our wanting to live as good a life as possible for ourselves is prevents us sometimes from doing what is really the right thing. And like, up until now, even Canada, we still don't have we just recently enacted like some very strict traveling bans and traveling halts, and right now, like, we're just implementing this. This is how many years away. I see people on my fucking Facebook, on Twitter, on vacation at the beach, here, there, everywhere. Like, although traveling was discouraged, I don't think people really like were 100% like, let's not do what we want to do. They were gonna do it. They're gonna do it anyways. And that was part of the problem of why it spread. So hopefully we learn from this, because it's hard to just point out one thing that is to blame. But being a Canadian, and how our government speaks to us about how like, they speak to us a way like you would speak to your child if they had beers and ended up in a cellar overnight, in a drunk tank, getting arrested overnight. The way our government speaks to us is like that. But I don't see that people are really taking, ever since like the summer, late summer, I don't really see that people were taking it like lightly. I think there's a very certain group of people that are just don't want it to affect them at all, and they're willing to say bullshit like it's a hoax, knowing that it's not, in order to try and get restrictions lifted or whatever. But it's not a hoax. Like, that's one thing. But like, the reason I side with them is that right now the government's just kind of picking and choosing the things they want to be open. And the schools are the main thing. The rises in cases have been consistent with the opening of schools and the closing of schools, because in Ontario, where we're seeing our dips, our declines in COVID transmission, is at 2 points. Was A, after the summer, and B, after Christmas holidays. Like, after Christmas holidays, we started seeing like the after effects of a decline in cases. And what happened during that time is that Ontario had the extended holiday school closures. So they kept schools closed until, like, I think I'm recording this on Sunday, January the 31st. I think they're starting to bring kids back into school this Monday, this week. They're going to bring kids back into school. But, shocker, we've seen a decline in that. So, and I say shocker because it's not really that shocking to me when you have a bunch of people conglomerating into a building, which is exactly the sorts of things that you're trying to ban, that you're trying to prevent small businesses or concerts or or libraries, gym facilities, anything like that you're trying to prevent. But the one exception is schools. Oh, because the kid, we are finding it's not transmitting. Well, of course you're finding it's not transmitting. Kids aren't getting symptoms. The virus doesn't affect them as much. They're asymptomatic. They don't even know they're sick. So who knows? And even if you follow protocol and procedures, it's not like the kid's not gonna walk home with his friends from school or say goodbye or bump into somebody else. You're just increasing the probability of transmission by increasing the social circle, because you're saying we're not allowed. At first, we're not allowed to have we're not allowed to have more than 20 people in our social circle. Then it was 10, and now it's 5. But for schools, you can have, if you're looking at a high-end limit, maybe like 100 different interactions. So I don't care. Odds and probability don't care about the protocols you put in place. And it's the one thing where you're going to give an exception to. But we can have all these small businesses completely collapse and completely destroy our economy for decades because you want some kids to fucking make sure they get properly brainwashed. Is that the case? Because they can learn just fine outside of school. You can direct them what to study outside of school and make it work with Zoom sessions and stuff. Maybe since your teachers are part of the union and operate on a seniority priority, maybe some of those old dinosaurs don't even know how to use a fucking Zoom meeting correctly. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not the small businesses. Maybe it's the fact that we didn't halt flights and stop flights across our borders soon enough. And, that's the thing that pisses me off, is because Canada is not a very friendly place to do business to begin with. And that's a reason why we lose a lot of our economic growth potential. We scare companies away. We scare businesses away. Do you ever notice, we come up with ideas first? Like Yahoo... quantum computing, BlackBerry, shit like this. The reason why we're not able to see these things through to their full potential is because of the restrictions that get put on it by the fact that they have to dole out a large majority of their profits back to the government, which in turn the government makes life more difficult for these businesses. So for this on top, this small business fist fucking on top of the already you're paying half of your business profits. If you're doing well in a business, half of that's going back to the government. For what? For them to tell you can only have 5 people max in your store, even though all of them are wearing masks and whatever during a virus, and then turning around and blaming it on them when cases are going up, despite the fact that we have the schools open. It's just, it's insane. I don't see any way that can help what's going on right now. And there's no kind of way forward. For instance, the stuff that's going on in the stock market right now, how Robinhood acted is how I would expect a Canadian company to act, because they're into it so much with the government that they wouldn't allow something like that to happen. They would regulate the shit out of it, make sure the government can make peak profit, and not care about the little guy being able to run up and create even a relatively small pocket of wealth for himself. That shit would not exist. It would not have gotten created here. A company would get too big, where and another company would challenge it, and then that's when the government would step in and say, hey, you need to do this, 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 and this, and oh yeah, by the way, thank you for your tax money. thank you for all of that, but in the return, we're going to make sure we flush out any other businesses that want to try to do things differently from you. See, that's the deal. That's a deal that they have with the casinos, because the casinos are awful to play in here. They are run under the guise in Ontario, like, you're supposed to gamble because you're having fun, you're having entertainment. That's what they call it. That's, in the government's eyes, that's what you're supposed to be doing. So what they do is that they rig the games in their favor so that the participant, the consumer, has low chances of winning. But that's supposed to be it, because you're not going to make money, you're going to have a good time, which is bullshit, because if you're doing well at something, whether it's whether you're calling your shots in sports betting, whether you're catching fire on the poker tables, no matter what you're doing, for you to tilt the odds against somebody and say, oh well, we're allowed to do it because you're supposed to be having fun, meanwhile they're not doing it to have fun. If they weren't fucking making any money out of it, then you could bet this shit would be shut down. They would not have these operating if they weren't profitable. So it's how things are operating here is completely, I like, for me to just see that Robin Hood story, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's totally what would happen. But I don't realize that as an American, that's actually fucking offensive. And I think we need to get to that state where we have a very strong backbone against what is right and what is wrong. Like, we're too docile and complacent, but in our nature. And I feel like it's the wrong ways in a lot of these circumstances. I feel like we just want to separate ourselves from Americans, and just to say we're something different, like, and not that we aren't, like, we are, but I feel like we're just doing it for the sake of being different, and not necessarily seeing where Americans have good points, and where they and the things that they do well, and the things that we don't necessarily do well, but we're just kind of clinging on to it as if it's some sort of like version of our culture, when maybe it's not the best way that things should be operating. So anyways, it's interesting, excuse me, it'll be interesting to see how the stocks play out in the future, at least in the next year or so. It's been like, I was kind of a little late to it, but I'm on it right now. And just this past week, it's so the week of was it the week of the 20, starting the 25th. So the week of the 25th was when everything kind of started to go crazy. And like, so about that weekend, I was really starting to see social media light up about this. But for the meantime, I don't know. I don't think there's anything that can really be done. I mean, when you look at the scope and scale of what the Redditors are doing, and the scope and scale of what's already been being done by Wall Street, like, we're talking about Ponzi schemes. We're talking about insider information, insider edge, insider trading, tanking companies, buying the shorts, having one thing to counteracts that, and like starting to cry wolf after this one little thing, after you've been absolutely fist fucking the American public over the last since the fucking stock market began, since buying out fucking companies that could produce next level technology and crushing them with finances and opening up companies instead that will like droll things out in like a planned obsolescence type of way. So you've been doing that for fucking centuries. Like it seems a little and then to turn around and say, "Oh, now we need now we now we need some hardcore regulations because because a guy on Reddit made 5 figures this year." Holy shit! Like that's unbelievable to have that sort of that sort of mentality, and it seems, at least for now, that the far right and the far left are in agreement with the Redditors. So, and most of just anybody with a human conscience and some sort of critical thinking ability and is not a complete paid off shill would probably think the same, I'd imagine. But I digress. It's a crazy world we find ourselves living in right now. And I'm kind of glad I started my podcast on a January. I know the New Year is arbitrary and a little cliche, but it's also a pretty good starting point. I can, clearly remember the year intervals, 2021, 2022, so it's a good assessment point. I'm not mad that things started out this way, that it was like at the beginning of a new year. Also, I'm not dense enough to, if things needed to have been started at a time where it wasn't exactly flowing with the new year, I'm not dense enough to like not start it up before then. But I just told you why I didn't start it up before then, is because I think that seeing the light at the end of the Corona tunnel by way of fucking the vaccine trailway is kind of taking a lot of the edge off of where this thing would have been had I started it up like while we were knee deep in the Rona. So like I said, it's good to have that. It's good to have that light at the end of the tunnel. All right, so now I want to kind of like get into a little bit of my life leading up to this point. Just back then, during that space, probably would have been when I read ads, but this is the first episode, so I got no fucking ads to read, so we can just keep going. So I want to talk a little bit about my life leading up towards this point. So I'm in my early 30s right now. My life leading up to this point, I grew up in I was born in a city, raised in a small town, grew up obviously Canadian. I grew up I was born in Windsor, Ontario, which is across from the United States. Detroit, across the Ambassador Bridge is where I was born and raised, and so I've done a lot of things. Eventually, right now, I'm in Toronto, and my life leading up to this point was very crazy. I had a lot of random jobs that I did, and never really kind of found my footing, and was never really found a place to just dig my heels and say, okay, let's get at her. Like I've lived in Niagara Falls. I've lived in British Columbia. I lived in Alberta, in the city of Calgary. I was back to Windsor, I was back in the small towns. Then eventually decided to come back out here in Toronto. Toronto's probably the place I spent the most time in since I started my little expenditure, my little travels throughout the decades. In Toronto, I've been in for probably, this is going on my eighth year, and that's definitely the longest time I've spent in a place. So I guess this is the closest to home that I have. So I guess I would say Toronto is my home. At least for now. But the reason why I moved a lot was for school. I was in schooling, and I took up various jobs. So I was into accounting. I did casino work, worked in grocery stores. I worked as a DJ before. I worked in warehousing, factory work. I've done a lot of things up until this point, but I realized that you have to make something, or try and make something of the things that are available that you can see yourself doing. I never want to see myself doing a 9-to-5 job for the rest of my life. So if I can find something outside of that where it's less like work, then that's what I would want to do. That's what because that's the reason why I've been bouncing around to begin with. I was never able to stay in one place because, eventually I would move away from all the drama, then new drama would start up with me. So so that's part of the reason why I went to Toronto. It's like, if you want to, if you're going to have to deal with crap, you might as well have something to justify it. And most of our tax dollars go to the city of Toronto. It's Canada's, unofficial capital, landmark city. Come to have a good time. That's where you go. That's it's the best place to be in this country. So yeah. I've been having recent success lately at my job, and I think they want me to take on like a higher role, like a management role, but I'm gonna keep doing this as something on the side and have some sort of side hustle going on. Like, if I could, I would love to do something like this for a living instead of I like to bust my ass in the gym, not necessarily at work. Like, I like to go to the gym and really pump everything out, and then work on something abstract in my time off. Instead, right now, like, I am like busting it everywhere. Not that I can't go into the gyms right now, but at work, I bust my ass at my work to work in a warehouse to make sure we hit our volumes and pump out our volumes. Recently made team lead there, and think they want me to go into management. But it's always good to do this, have a side hustle going on, and this is part of my side hustle. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where I can take it, and kind of take things month to month and go on about like I said, like, for me to go on about what's going on right now, like, I could do one a week comfortably, but I'm not finding, like, like, a lot of people think they can just hit the ground running, and some people do the right things and end up doing that. But it's always good to take a step back and to kind of analyze how things are, and instead of just create, like, have some sort of critical commentary on what you're doing and things that you can be doing better. That's part of what the internet is good for. Also, is that people aren't going to tell you to your face, like, what at least people who will pretend or actually be your friends, either or. They're not going to tell you, hey man, you could have done da 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 da, and hey, you could have done da 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 better. But and so that's what the internet is good for. A lot of things can just be blind hatred on the internet, but you have to kind of just let that like just see through that for what it is, like. And then sometimes people will often can be helpful. Other times they can be nitpicky. Like if somebody has a good podcast and are presenting themselves good and have good ideas and but the background isn't like great. Like who gives a fuck? Like, and if somebody's like nitpicking at that, then like. Oh yeah, hey, like what is up with that backdrop, bro? Like who gives a fuck? Is like like the backdrop is like the least important thing in that scenario. So what are you complaining about? Do you have like, oh hey, maybe you should have a segment where you do rank this, that, and the other thing. I think that would be good. Yeah, okay. Like that's obviously somebody who's a friend with you is like, yeah, you're good. What you're doing is good. Not a lot of people will have the confidence to just come up and it's like, hey, yeah, could have did that better. Which is what the internet is good for. It's good to have all sorts of opinions. It's good to not fear being shot in the head because some overly self-conscious artist can't take a little bit of criticism. So that's good. The internet is a great thing. It's much easier to get these things started. Like I'm a very independent person and I do not work well with other people because I hate dealing with other people's fucking personality fucking quirks, and right now is like borderline fucking autism is like mainstream thinking right now. Everybody's just fucking so involved with their fucking virtual lives that they can't even be bothered to develop like simple fucking conversational skills, and we're just expected to deal with it. Oh yeah, deal with old Timmy's autistic freakouts there, and it'll be fine. That's just how he is. Bullshit. And this whole idea of mental health is really starting to fucking bother me. It's really starting to bother me. It's not that I don't feel that people don't have mental health issues like schizophrenia, like severe ADD, stuff like that. But right now what we're saying is that you can just do anything and say, you were depressed or had some mental health issues, and you'll get 10 to 20 years off prison if they can't prove otherwise. Like, what the fuck is that? And like, I don't want to seem like I'm being insensitive because, like, I'm not here, but I can only tell things from my own personal perspective. And there was a time, like, I was going through a really shitty period where I felt like, it might have been depression, like, where it felt like how they describe it in the commercials, where like it's this cloud of like, but I also kind of felt the Joe Rogan side of it too, where it's just like, well, what if you're just not doing this? What if what if you could be doing something better? What if you could be eating healthier? What if you could be exercising? What if you could be doing good things to yourself? Do you think that maybe that would help your mood state? And like, to be honest with you, I didn't know the answer. I didn't know whether it was just something that was a illness, quote unquote illness, or whether I was doing things that was contributing to where I was at the time. And so what I did was you don't want to try going to the doctors and saying that you're fucked up in the head, that you think something's wrong with you first. You want to try the au natural holistic approach first, and see if you can fix the things that are wrong by inputting better things into your body, whether it's better music, better movies, better health, better just inputting good things. And and I tried that, and it took a long time. It was like it took half a decade, but I got to where I needed to be, and at the end of the day, I don't feel the need, like that cloud never came back. It went away because I realized what it was. I built a proper shelter over myself to not be worried about it. And I feel that a lot of people aren't doing that and aren't starting from that framework. That maybe the problems that you have are your own doing. Now, I also have been blessed / cursed with the fact that I didn't grow up with an incredibly wealthy upbringing. So I also see the fact that there is circumstance, and that bad circumstance isn't just an extra step to overcome. It's I think for some people, like, just doing a 9 to 5 and just getting by is a great thing. For some people, for just doing that and doing that every day is a good thing. And like, I don't think that they're necessarily to blame for the reason why they're not, like, for the reason why they're not stupid wealthy. For some people, it's such a you get stuck with a couple kids, a bad relationship, and literally just overcoming that is, like, you're talking about like a decade before you can actually sit there and reassess. And then by then, like, you haven't had time to just sit down and flush things out and figure out where your life is gonna go from that point on. So you're already, and then where do you start? You literally just lost a decade. You literally have like a decade worth of things to overcome. And not that you can't overcome it, but I think, like, if you're gonna turn into like a fucking raging asshole because of having to do all these things on top of it, honestly, I feel like if you just can just hold down a 9 to 5, like, that's, for some people, not for everybody, but just holding down a 9 to 5 is borderline heroic in today's day and age. It's a lot better than developing a personality disorder and presenting everybody with it on a day-to-day basis, and really not accomplishing anything, and just needing to fulfill your ego on a day-to-day basis, and needing affirmation and appreciation from people who only give a shit about the last thing you've done. I mean, you got to take the good with the bad, and in some cases, having a regular 9 to 5, community college degree, and doing and just living a normal life in many ways is better than the consequences that follow. Having to get a massive amount of fame and money at a certain point of time. But I also don't agree with people who whine, oh, I'm too famous, oh, you don't know what my life is like now, oh, woe is me, let me cry with my $100 bills, oh. See, I don't get that either, because it seems like the people who do this, who complain a lot about fame, are also the same people who probably shouldn't be doing what they were doing to get them famous. It's like a lot of the artists I listen to, like, they would be doing art whether there was like a half sold out bar that they're playing at, or whether it's like, whether it's the biggest arena, whether it's a Super Bowl, whether it's a Super Bowl or a dive bar that's half full, they would still be doing the same thing they were doing at the same level, no matter what the audience. And if you're going to go into something where there's a potential for that sort of level of fame and notoriety and criticism and being put under the microscope, it's like, what are you complaining about? Like, that's the life you chose. Like, I think the reason why a lot of these people are complaining is that they don't really like what they do for a living. That's my diagnosis in a lot of cases. It's like, say you grew up through Mickey Mouse fame or something, and like, you grew up to be cute, attractive, and people liked seeing you, but you're just singing someone else's songs, like you're just doing something for somebody else, and that eats at you over time, and that's why you're upset with why you're upset with the fame, why you complain about the fame. No authentic artist whose true passion is to do what they are doing would ever find it bad to be in too much, to be in too appreciated for what they are doing. My suspicion is that they do not really love what they do, and that the paparazzis, autographs, the this, the that, the fakeness of it all, it just eats at them slowly over time, and eventually that causes this sort of reaction to what's going on, and the whining and complaining about the fame. Like, okay, you complain about it. There's fucking tons of artists who don't get the radio time because they don't sing like 2.5 minute verse chorus chorus songs that they get that they don't get the airplay that they get because you are eating up it and complaining that you're too famous. I'm sure a lot of artists that should be heard do not get heard. So for you to complain about that you're too popular is just quit. Just stop while your head is fucking bothering you that much. Okay, just stop doing what you're doing. I know my ears would be grateful for that. I know damn well that I will not be complaining. Just take your money and fucking run, and do it now, and do something and start something that's going to bring you fulfillment, because if singing to little 13-year-old girls when you're fucking 40 years old and like pretending to fucking try and identify them is that seems like a fucking identity midlife crisis that's gonna hit you like a fucking ton of bricks. So stop now and try and get into something. Take your fucking tens of millions of dollars and do something that's gonna bring you fulfillment. That's not gonna fucking bring you fulfillment, okay? I'm sorry, guys. It's just that everything sucks now, and that's why that's part of what feeds my mood now. The things aren't the way they used to be. Things aren't the way I remember, and they suck. They are significantly worse than I remember them, and hence my fucking miserable mood on a semi-frequently day-to-day basis. But yeah, that's where we find ourselves. Everything sucks now. Hey, I got an idea. How about instead of you guys criticizing the new WonderWoman movie, instead of doing that, you go and find your parents, okay? And here's what you do. Is you go and find your parents, and maybe you try and figure out why you're in such a stage of arrested development that you're critiquing a film that is largely made for children. Or how about why you're over the age of 13 years old and even watching superhero movies to begin with? Everything sucks now. Superheroes suck. Superheroes suck because we can't identify them with them. We can't identify with them. We are very unheroic on a day-to-day basis. And for all these fucking like mid-20s neckbeards living with their moms that are like have serious fucking problem with the Wonder Woman movie, yeah, you need to fucking get your head checked. You're the reason why there are bad movies to begin with. Oh yeah, but the Avengers were sweet. Yeah, okay. No, it wasn't. They all suck. They're all for little kids, and if you actually like them and you're actually critical that they're not doing a good enough job, what's the fucking target audience? They're not made for fucking 30-year-olds. That's why they suck. The Batman movies were good because it was made for an adult audience. It was made for an adult audience. You are not in your teens anymore. Fucking Spider-Man, all that bullshit. Fucking, why are you watching it? Why are you in such a stage of arrested development where you feel like deeply butthurt that the Wonder Woman movie wasn't as good as you expected it to be? Come on. Yes, everything sucks now. Get over it. With Trump out of office, late night comedy can finally go back to being relentingly unfunny. Except now without a false sense of purpose. See, before they had, oh yeah, we're all doing it to take down Trump, you know. I think it's funny. Normally the president looks like he's aged 25 years after the time he spent in office. This Trump presidency, it didn't appear to age Trump much, but the talk show hosts all look like they become senior citizens overnight. See fucking Colbert? Colbert looks fucking worse than when Obama left office, and this is just 4 years of Trump. I don't know what happened there, but maybe we will have to experiment more. So with most presidents, they seem to become senior citizens over their tenure, but with a raging Republican, borderline neurotic, narcissist president, for some reason, the late night talk show hosts all seem to like age like 2 decades over that time. What the fuck? See, if comedy were a poker game, snark would be the nut low, just below impressions. It's low-hanging fruit and doesn't require much creativity, which is exactly why it's so prominent in social media, late-night talk shows, and the entirety of Jimmy Kimmel's being. You have to be a special kind of fucked up to be able to be a late-night talk show host and kiss as many asses as you do. It's like, oh, yes, your movie, it was so good. I watched it over the weekend. No, I didn't, but I watched it over the weekend, and your performance was absolutely outstanding. Outstanding. Oh yeah, Trump. Boo, boo Trump. Oh yeah, he's orange. He's orange. He's an orange person with bad hair. Oh, he's a fascist. Trump's a fascist. Trump's a fascist. Now we're saying Trump's a fascist. Okay. So, yeah, for some reason the late night talk show host seemed a little worse for wear after the Trump presidency. Honestly, I think fucking Colbert's gonna die before fucking Trump croaks. Trump's gonna be like fucking 105 years old, and fucking Colbert's gonna be like a fucking raisinette, like a fucking gray raisinette. Trump's gonna have smoother skin than him, and him and Jon Stewart will be fucking fighting for the last fucking respirator. and Trump's still gonna be alive. Yep. But that's where we're at this point in time. So we're reaching about an hour. I'm going to do a bit of sports recap. Eventually, I want to do a sports segment on its own. But for right now, going into the latter part of the show, we're just gonna do a quick sports recap about the last this January in sports. So I'm just gonna take a real quick break, grab a sippy sip, and we'll be right back to finish off TWA2K with the sports section. And we're back. It's the World According to Kyle Spotcast Sports Report. So, we have our Super Bowl matchup set. We have the Kansas City Chiefs featuring Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, led by the immortal one, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and featuring Playoff Lenny. So, who else is excited for the Super Bowl? I don't want to say that I did not think this type of matchup could happen, because I actually put money on Tampa Bay to win the Super Bowl when the odds were quite high. The news was just kind of dropping out that Tom Brady was considering a list of potential suitors, and the more you looked at it, the more it seemed like, especially after the extension by Tannehill was signed, that Tampa Bay would be the destination. So there were some smoke signals sent out, and before it was official, I got it in. I could have had it at 26-1. I ended up getting it at 21-1, just $50. It'll be a cool K if Tampa managed to pull through. I'm not going to hedge, by the way. Yeah, I just think this is a 50-50 game, kind of. I think it could go either way. Kansas City, they have like the powerful, unstoppable offense, but I think the Super Bowl that I get mad vibes from is the 2008 New York Giants versus Patriots. But except in this scenario, I think that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are more like the New York Giants, and the Kansas City Chiefs are like the New England Patriots, where the New England Patriots were fucking stomping on the competition all the way up, and Kansas City's basically done that. They're 14-2, like New England. That was their 16-0 season, and here come the wild card team that has a good pass rush, and Kansas City has a beat up O line that the the recipe to success is there. It's it's not there, and the patchwork job that like just simply putting Tom Brady in and having him go on the fly, and he's been learning and growing and becoming better every single day. Every single day he's with that team, he's becoming better and he's becoming more fluid. And having him at the age of 43 perform better than the most 23 to 25 year old quarterbacks, it's insane. It's unlike anything I've seen before. Their first Tom Brady's first Super Bowl with New England was in 1999. I was still in fucking grade school. Tom Brady's winning Super Bowls. I've lived fucking multiple lifetimes of an existence, and here we are, 2021, fucking how many fucking decades later, and he's still and he's still in the Super Bowl. It is absolutely insane. It is a triumph. In my mind, whether he wins right now or he doesn't, I think just what he's done this year, you cannot. It's very hard to argue that he's the single greatest team sport athlete of all time. Nobody has had this sort of success spanning fucking decades throughout their sport and staying on top of their game for as long as they did. Now, part of it is in fact because of the position that he's playing. There are guys defensively, there are guys wide receivers, there are tight ends who could probably be considered have an equal lighting for what Tom Brady did with their statistics and keeping it up over time, but honestly, not really. But part of it is you could make your arguments for them, but part of it is because of the nature of the quarterback position that you're taking. For you to get hit is an anomaly, whereas you're supposed to, like in any other position, you're probably getting hit at least once per play. Running backs like at least 5 times. But on the other side of the ledger, Mr. Mahomes has he's just knocked down the fucking door coming into the league. He didn't fucking knock. He's like, hello, is it Patrick? No, he didn't do that. He fucking stomped the door fucking right through the fucking hole and come into the league fucking guns blazing. And to think like Patrick Mahomes isn't like the next closest thing that we've seen to I know it's pretty early, but this is like 3 years. He could potentially have 3 Super Bowls. He could potentially have 3 Super Bowls if things bounce his way. So how many times are you gonna get even a great quarterback? Even a great quarterback has a hard time making 3 Super Bowls in a row. So it's about time to give Mahomes his due as well. And should be an exciting matchup. I know who I'm rooting for. I know that I can't take the hedge because unfortunately it's -3 for the Chiefs. So if I were to hedge, I would have to put up like $500 to win $900, and that's taking and that's laying 3 points. So if Kansas City wins by 1 or 2, then I just fucking lose everything. No, and betting the money line is too not worth it. So time to just ride this wave. I mean, I called it out. I was like, hey man, I think I saw the writing on the wall. I just say, hey man, if Tom Brady fucking gets in this situation, he's going to make it to the Super Bowl. And if things play out the way they should, because I'd seen that Tampa was a team that their defense was on the up and coming, and that they were really one great quarterback away from becoming a great team. And shout out to the defense. Shout out to fucking Big Shaq. Shout out to Jamel Dean. All those guys on the defensive side in Tampa, because they've really stepped it up some. They have really stepped it up, and Tampa wouldn't be in this position that they were in if their defense hadn't played out of their minds. Now, a lot of people are pumping the tires for KC's defense, saying, yeah, KC's defense is next level. Like they've been playing really good, all this and that, but I don't think you can place Kansas City's defense in the same breath as Tampa's. Okay, you just can't. Like for reasons that, okay, Tampa's defense actually was like a legit top 5 defense at stopping the run, and they weren't a complete drag against the pass. And now they're completely healthy, which is one of the major things. Whereas like before, throughout the season, they weren't necessarily healthy, so they're not slouch against the pass. Like KC's defense, you can argue, is an average defense, but they are very average, and they're subjected to being exploited, especially by a guy like Tom Brady. Like if you need Tom Brady to throw the deep throws, you need him to throw the short immediate throws, you need him to throw the bubble screens, the quick outs, the dump offs. He can do all that, and it's not like you can just isolate something that a quarterback will be bad at and have him hang his hat on that. It's like you can't do that with Brady. you just can't. And this matchup is all about Tampa's secondary versus the quick passing and intermediate passing offense of Kansas City, and how quick they are to the tackles, and how good they are at limiting KC's big play potential. That's a key to the game for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Very similar to which to the game of the New England Patriots when they were the powerhouse. Kansas City is a powerhouse to the New York Giants, and Tampa Bay is the sneaky underdog team that just railed off 2 amazing wins and is red hot right now. Take in mind, Kansas City, they lost to the LA Chargers, the hapless Chargers, coached by Anthony Lynn. Getting into this, they are beatable right now. The Buccaneers are riding a hot streak, and that's not to say that I don't think Kansas City is going to win. I'm giving reasons and justifying not taking the hedge, because I think this is closer to 50-50 than it is to, Kansas City by whatever, that's for sure. And especially, the line has been staying firm at 3. I got news for you. It's not moving anywhere. It's not fucking moving anywhere, okay? It's staying right at 3. It opened at 3.5. It went to 3. It's not fucking moving anywhere, guys. It's staying there. It's staying right there. And that, to me, plus we got a home game for Tampa for the Super Bowl. I've been on the other side of it, where I've been against Tom Brady in this scenario, and all I can say is that I want to be on Tom Brady's side, win or lose. Win or lose, I want to be on his side. And there's just something to be said about I don't even think there's a strong enough word to clarify just how amazing Tom Brady has been over the course of of these past few decades. I don't even think you can, GOAT is a strong enough word, because GOAT has been muted. Now we just call everybody GOAT who starts to perform good over a more than 2-year period, without really putting any credence into the adage greatest of all time, right? So there's Brady's the greatest ever, considering, like, you want to take it back to the days of experimental health, of where nobody knew what made anybody healthy. Where you want to take it back to those age and say, like, the guys who like really tore it up at that time were some next levels. Like it was not as like, say, Wilt Chamberlain dominating the NBA in his day is not the same level as like somebody dominating the NBA or NFL or NHL now, because everybody is at such a fucking you have to stay like sharp. You have to stay so sharp, and if you lose that sharpness for a year or two, you could be done for good. Whereas like before, fucking Babe Ruth was fucking smoking cigars before he would go step up to bat, and like, you just can't. That's the one thing I don't like about this era comparison bullshit, is that it really doesn't quantify the society at the time. It just is looking at wins and losses in bare stats. For Tom Brady to do what he is doing right now at the age that he is doing, against the everybody, with every informational advantage that he has, that with the physical advantage that he doesn't have anymore, and being able to perform at the level that he has is such a tribute to his mindset, to his never giving up spirit, and never accepting fate, and to always put yourself in the best position possible. That is something literally every athlete can learn from. And if you truly want to be the greatest, then you have to look at him and look at what he is doing. It is not easy for him to do what he's done, to put the type of dedication to his body that he has done. But he did it. It's not, and for everybody else, it's not different. Some people maybe a little more like slight of frame. Some people like to put on that extra 25 pounds of muscle mass. It's not gonna be easy, but ultimately, will it put you in a better spot to do what you have to do over time, right? Is and taking the right steps, and fucking not going off track too far. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing above and beyond what anybody else is doing. And his trainer and his training, and what he's doing, the TB12 method, is just exactly what he needed to do to be able to stay at the top of his game at that time, and nobody else is pushing themselves over the top. Not that I'm saying that his diet or whatever he's doing is exactly right for everybody, but it was what was right for him at the time. Required sacrifice and required dedication. While it was in the off season, he was trying to meet up with his teammates and get on rhythm, because he knew this wouldn't be a just jump and let's go, and it's going to be some sort of figuring it out on the way. And boy, did he figure it out on the way. Boy, did he figure it out. And you just I'm happy with my money on Tom Brady at this point. And if we lose, we lose. But I still don't think it should that you could say. I still think you have to say he's the single greatest team, individual team athlete in a team sport that has ever existed. Okay, and that's my football for now. I just wanted to pivot really quick to the UFC, and so we had the Conor fight over the weekend where Poirier took out Conor McGregor after all of this hoopla and overhype. Conor finally seems to have taken down below where his ego thought it was, and got humbled a little bit. Now, nobody is going to be touching Khabib, and I do not think Khabib is coming back. I think it'll be at least 2 years. Maybe he'll come back now for his 30th fight, but that's like pending there's somebody that rises to the top of the ranks right now. Right now it's just Khabib, and there's about 6, 7 guys in that division who are just trading wins and losses at this point. Now, it'd be interesting to see is Justin Diamond going to be gettable? Is Chandler in the future? I'm not saying Chandler should take him on right now, but in the future, after Chandler's had 1 or 2 more bouts and he wins both those, is Diamond gonna defend against him? Like, there's a lot of questions to be answered, but I don't think that we are even close to seeing like a number one clear title holder that would interest Khabib. He's too above and beyond what anybody is at the time, and not that I'm really such a Khabib guy. I think he's good for the sport, of course, but stylistically, like, I like brawlers. I like people who go in there and try and knock each other out. I think that is like every now and then when you get a submission and it happens, but like for me, like in my watchability, I've always admired the power strikers and stuff. Like, I've never been as much into like the rolling around on the ground, and like I think, not that it's bad for the sport, I just like I always want to see the champion being like a knockout specialist, and I think that the way forward is to come up with some sort of adequate defense for the Dagestani techniques, and coming up with some sort of way to counter it and make sure that it stays on the feet. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this division going forward. So the next couple of fights, we got Overeem versus Volkov. That's happening next weekend, February 6th. And February 13th weekend, we're going to have UFC 258, Usman and Burns, Kron Usman and Gilbert Burns for the belt. Now that's going to be a good bout. Also, Weidman and Uriah Hall will be fighting also on that card. Then after that, we're still in February. We got Lewis Blades. UFC Fight Night. Now that will be a nice little bout of the big boys. Hey, that'll be nice. So we'll see. I think a lot of people are saying that Dana is upset that Khabib isn't fighting anymore. And while Khabib is a great competitor, a great athlete, is just nothing can excite him anymore. He's just too dominant, and unless somebody comes up that can make Khabib even give Khabib a shadow of doubt in his mind that, wow, maybe this guy could take me, that he's not coming back. And I think maybe there's maybe a 5-year window for this to happen, and if it doesn't happen, then it's done. Like, fighting is a very cutthroat thing that even if, say, Khabib takes this time off, and I assume he will be training, he will be in shape, but I mean, if you're not getting in these fights, it's a whole different animal. But then again, people aren't really putting up too much of a competition against him, so maybe it will be like much of the same. I don't know, but will be interesting to see over the course of this year. There's a pretty big shakeup going on in the UFC, and I was actually interested in Chandler and seeing him rise up the ranks of Bellator. I never really paid too much attention to Bellator before, but now maybe like there's a guy who just comes in and just wallops fucking Dan Hooker, despite like Hooker having like the clear size advantage. Like, whoa, where did this come from? But you know, Chandler's talking a lot too. He's calling out more people than 50 Cent did in How to Rob after his victory against Dan Hooker. So, you know, this could come all down crashing back to earth very quickly. But for the time being, I'm interested to see what his next matchup would be. Also very interested to see Izzy versus Blankowitz, and Izzy moving up a weight class and seeing how he can handle that, because nobody was more dominant in the weight class as him, and if he can get those belts, man, that's that will be wild. But you know, with football just winding down, football's kind of my main squeeze. It's been awesome to I really got into MMA over 2020 when it was the only thing on. Shout out to Dana White and being the first to kind of put his neck on the line for making that happen, and using his funds to create the Fight Island to make these fights happen. And it worked. You know, ever since then, I have really gotten into fighting. And you know, before it wasn't much my cup of tea, but I think UFC over the past couple decades has really developed a really solid product, and it's been great to be able to watch these fights over the past little while, and see these fighters and all these guys, you know, putting their hearts, putting their necks on the line for you know, for the sport. And it's good to be able to pivot to something in the off season for football, because football's, you know, my main thing. All right, so that's it for now. The World According to Kyle podcast, sports edition, done, and the regular edition, done. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to try to share this to as much platforms as I can, and hopefully over the course of the next year, pump 12 of these bad boys out, one per month. So if you're jump on right now, so you can say, hey, I heard it first. I remember where I heard it first. So shout out to you. All right, the World According to Kyle, over and out.